Before my screening of this movie, I actually got some Detective Pikachu branded Pokemon trading cards from the ticket taker. Here I got, if I can get it out, Detective Pikachu and Magikarp. Really cool getting these now. Really cool getting these now. I feel like I am 10 years old again, collecting Pokemon cards for the first time, and now that I have them both in my possession, I am going to add these to my long dormant Pokemon trading card collection. Here we go. And there goes card number 1 and card number 2. Really awesome. What is up, everybody? RandomRandomMan here, bringing you my review for Pokémon Detective Pikachu. Based on both the franchise created by Satoshi Tajiri and the 2016 video game of the same name, the plot of this urban fantasy mystery film basically follows Tim Goodman, played by Justice Smith, who comes in contact with a talking Pikachu, played by Ryan Reynolds, who once belonged to his father, as both of them team up to go on the search for Tim's missing dad. Going into this movie, I had moderate expectations, but not at first. Upon hearing the announcement of this movie, like many people, I at first groaned at the idea of a live-action Pokemon movie, as many movies in the past that have been based on pre-existing video game properties have proved that they haven't translated well into a different medium. Going into my history with the Pokemon property, as I implied with the intro of this video, I was pretty into the franchise at some point during my youth, though I never really played any of the original video games, but I mainly got into this series through both the anime, which I remember watching almost every Saturday morning, and I even borrowed some VHS tapes of the episodes from my cousins, and through the trading card game. As you can see by my little book here, I was into this franchise up until about the Diamond and Pearl era. There's Palkia and Dialga on the front and back covers. Yeah, here are some of the cards I have. My brother was definitely more into this franchise than me. Don't believe me? Well, here's his binder full of Pokemon cards. Like, it's insane how many he has. Like, wow. Whew. Oh my god. But anyway, yeah, setting all of that aside, seeing the first trailer for this film did heighten my interest to see it. The Pokemon themselves looked really good in their CGI forms. It looked like a fun little adventure, and it could have quite possibly have made for the best video game movie that we have gotten thus far. Did we though? Well, starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Ryan Reynolds as Detective Pikachu, both through vocal and motion capture performances. Now, I've gone on record in the past saying that I have not been the biggest fan of Ryan Reynolds, though he has impressed me in quite a few recent projects he has been in, such as both solid movies where he played the Merc with the mouth. And here, as Detective Pikachu, there was some trepidation as to if people will get over hearing Ryan Reynolds or just hearing Deadpool voicing this cute little Pokemon. And for me, it was really not much of a problem at all. I think that Reynolds added a lot of the humor to the film. I thought it was fitting for him to be voicing this character. The personality that this Pikachu specifically has is that he is really addicted to caffeine, and plus the design of the character. Oh my god. I'll get into more of the technical stuff later, but I'll say for now that Reynolds does just about right playing our title character. Then we have our other lead, our human lead, Justice Smith as Tim Goodman. You may remember him having popped up in movies of recent memory, such as Paper Towns and last year's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Here in Detective Pikachu, I think that Smith gives some of his best work yet. His character very much carries the stick-in-the-mud archetype, having once been a Pokemon trainer, but dropped out and later working with insurance. Like, ugh! Talk about a huge drop-off there. But we see the backstory with his character, him wanting to look for his dad, and then when he meets up with Detective Pikachu, that's when the chemistry between himself and Reynolds as the cute Pokemon really makes the movie kick into high gear, and I think that adds to a lot of what works about this movie. The supporting cast include the likes of Catherine Newton as Lucy Stevens, this junior reporter who is accompanied by her Pokemon Psyduck, and they eventually team up with Tim and Detective Pikachu. I thought she was pretty good. We have Bill Nighy, not Bill Nye the science guy, Bill Nighy, the British guy, as Howard Clifford, this disabled visionary who is behind Rhyme City, where the movie takes place, and is also the head of his own corporation. His character is basically just a plot device to get the narrative chugging along after he's introduced in a specific moment of the film. I won't spoil what it is, but that's what he is there for. We have Ken Watanabe as Detective Hideo Yoshida. He is a friend of Tim's father, and I like seeing him in films, but he doesn't get that much to do here. Chris Gere plays Roger Clifford, the son of Howard, and he basically is like his dad in that they are plot devices to get the movie going. And then I also have to give a shout out to Ikui Otani, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, I apologize if I butchered it, who is the voice of Pikachu whenever Pikachu says Pika Pika or Pikachu, any of that. Ugh. Worst Pikachu impression ever, but it's nice to hear her voice the character ever since she first started out with the anime over 2 decades ago and is stuck along playing this character. So all in all, I think that most of the cast here does serviceable jobs in their roles, but I think the standouts are definitely Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith. The writing of this film, when you get down to it, is really basic at its core. That's easily the biggest knock I have against this movie, as when the story does go on, it's super duper predictable. I saw just about everything coming from a mile away and then some, even when certain twists are set up to help the narrative get some variety going. Yeah, it was pretty easy to see where this movie was gonna go. This isn't to say that the writing is horrible for that. No, far from it. It does have some heart at its core. I mean, this movie is surrounded by a ton of Pokemon here, and also a story that does have emotional ties having to do with family and then some. But with what this movie does and scaling it so far back to where the mystery isn't really that intriguing in the first place, and it's pretty easy to see where it goes, that's where this movie is weighed down quite a bit. However, I do think a lot of this is made up for by how this movie's world building is executed. I have to give major props here to the visual department, as it's not just the actual rendering of the Pokemon here in CGI that looks so good. I mean, wow, they are translated so perfectly from both the anime and trading card designs to just live action. Take note, Paramount. Detective Pikachu has now set the bar. Ugh, this movie looks horrible. The redesign of Sonic better not look as horrendous as this. But I also have to give credit to how the setting of Rhyme City looks. It very much looks inspired by sci-fi movies such as Blade Runner, and if you were to describe Detective Pikachu in very simple terms for its concept, I would say it's a cross between Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Blade Runner. And that combination alone, as many have said, was what got them into this movie in the first place, despite the really predictable writing. And I have to agree as well, because I did get sucked into the world of Rhyme City, seeing the various Pokemon run around alongside either their trainers, their owners, or just across buildings and within the wildlife. It definitely felt like I was in a living, breathing world full of Pokemon. I also have to give credit to how the action is helmed, as we do see glimpses of Pokemon battles, which the franchise is known for, including the main sequence where Detective Pikachu goes up against this Charizard, and I thought that was quite nice to see. Director Rob Letterman really focuses how the action is framed and overall executed. This guy was also the director for 2015's Goosebumps, which I really enjoyed. Both that and Detective Pikachu are films that are very faithful to their source materials, and trust me, with Detective Pikachu, there's so much fan service. I got such a kick out of pointing out individual Pokemon in the background, seeing them use their specific abilities, and even hearing them utter their own names. It's something that I think just about any Pokemon fan who goes into this movie will at least enjoy seeing their favorite Pokemon on the big screen here. And again, along with the world building, other details I gotta give praise to involve the music. It felt like it was very mystery style, but also had this feeling like, hey, I was watching a live action Pokemon movie. And also the editing and the way scenes are put up together, transitioning from one sequence to another, and it also going into the pacing. This movie ran at about an hour and 45 minutes, and I thought it ran really, really well. Didn't feel too long, didn't feel too short, just about right, just like I mentioned with Reynolds' performance as Detective Pikachu. All in all, I think that this is a film tailor-made for fans of Pokemon, young and old, and even if you aren't well versed into the franchise, there are some enjoyable factors here for you to latch onto. Though I will say that some moments or details of the film are very much inside baseball, some things that only Pokemon fans will be able to latch onto. But again, for someone like myself who has been out of the loop with this franchise for years now, going back into it, it made me feel like a kid again in a lot of the more notable moments. Yes, this movie does have a pretty thin backbone for a script, and if you've seen any mystery movie out there, you can pretty much see where every twist is going instantly. But just like Pikachu's electric charged powers, once the movie is surged up with a lot of the fun that the property is associated with, there are going to be moments that will have you smiling just like I experienced with this film. And while we're on the subject of this being a video game based movie, does this have the attributes to be the best one ever made thus far? Well, seeing how the video game movies I've seen haven't really held up a candle to be good at the very least, I can for sure say that for now, we have gotten the first good video game-based movie. I recommend Pokemon Detective Pikachu. My final verdict for Pokemon Detective Pikachu is 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.